And it is 6:01, so I think we can get started. Thanks everyone for joining us this evening for our West Bayfront community gathering. I'm assuming everybody can hear me. Maybe just give a little wave, nod, thank you, thanks. So I'm Anna Franz, I'm the executive director of our West Bayfront. We have a number of people that are on this meeting this evening, and we'll get to know hopefully all of you. I wanted to do a quick introduction and welcome and kind of what is this all about for anybody who has not joined us for a community gathering before. Our West Bayfront, the neighborhood revitalization group that works in the West Bayfront community, we hold these community gatherings usually twice a year. And it's really an opportunity for us to provide an update or updates on projects and things that we're working on, and create a place where other projects and other things can be shared out into the community, and for us to get feedback on projects and things that are happening in the neighborhood. So we've got a pretty packed agenda with updates from several people on our team, including staff, Marissa Litzenberg and Tyler Titus, some of our volunteers and neighborhood leaders, Sarah Nesbitt, and Dave Marino from Dahlkemper Landscape Architects, who's going to be talking about Gridley Park. We also have a couple board members I see on the call. Candace, Jason Wazorek, Katrina Vincent is here. Not sure if there's any other board members now, but we are really appreciative of their time, not just on this meeting, but throughout the year to help guide and ensure the success of the work that's happening in the West Bayfront. So housekeeping, as I said, this is being recorded. It's also being streamed live on Facebook, hopefully, if the technology continues to work. I would ask that folks, if you're not speaking, if you could please keep your microphone or your speaker muted so that we don't interfere with the conversation. We can have quite a few people on these calls sometimes, so that can get pretty busy. So please keep yourself muted, but we will have opportunities for questions and feedback throughout the meeting. And at that point, definitely unmute yourself. And there's always an opportunity following our conversation for additional feedback and conversation. So don't worry if you're not able to kind of communicate what you want to tonight. We will definitely be available afterwards for conversation. So with that, we can get started. Any questions on any of that before we get moving? Okay, great. So we're going to start with Candace. Yes.
If people have thoughts, they could also put them in the chat as well. If you look at the bottom of your screen and roll your mouse down, you will see a number of different things that will show up, and one of them is chat, and you can type in whatever thoughts or questions you have if you don't want to go live. Thank you.
That's a great point. And I would also encourage folks to just, if they do want to in the chat, introduce themselves and say, hey, so you kind of know who's here in the room with us. So yes, we're going to start with Gridley Park, which is a really exciting project that we have been working on. I'm going to start sharing my screen so you can actually see our slides here. Whoop. Let's back up. Hold on. Okay, everybody see that?
Yep.
Great. Oh, and this was, I forgot to cover this, but this was somewhat of our agenda this evening. So a number of projects. We're going to talk about the projects that we're coordinating, other projects such as the city's Wi-Fi project and Gannon's greenhouse, and then also some upcoming events and opportunities to become involved. So Gridley Park. So we have been working now since, I think it's July or August of last year, on a plan to develop basically a concept for Gridley Park. Gridley Park is the heart of the West Bayfront community. It's a really important community gathering space. It's a really important historic park that's been, part of some of Erie's earliest designs for the city. It anchors one of the city's schools, Emerson Gridley School there. And it also is sort of at the crossroads of two major thoroughfares within the community, Liberty Street and West 6th Street. And it's a beautiful park and really well used and well loved, but any public facility, any public park, needs updates during the course of its life. And it is in our community plan, the Our West Bayfront Community Plan, to focus some investments and kind of think about are we using the park as well as it can be used? And do the facilities and amenities within Gridley really support the ways that people want to use the park? So, thanks largely to support from the Episcopal Cathedral of St. Paul, one of our partners in the community, we've been able to undertake an exciting planning project for Gridley. We don't yet have, I'll just be clear, we don't yet have funding to actually make the changes that we're going to be talking about, but we are hoping, particularly with funding that's going to be coming out from the city pretty soon, that we will be well positioned to make the improvements that are sort of vetted and identified through this community process in the coming years. So this really lays the groundwork for work that we hope will be coming along soon. So the process that we've gone through to date, as I mentioned, we started in the summer with a survey that received over 170 responses, basically asking people of all ages how they use the park, what they like about Gridley Park, what they would prefer to see changed, and just any other thoughts or ideas that they had. Around that time, we also convened a steering committee that's made up of neighbors, as well as representatives from the school that have been meeting at regular intervals since September to provide guidance and basically kind of communicate ideas to our design consultant. So that's Dave Marino from Dahlkemper Landscape Architects, to make sure that we're sort of all on the same page about what we're hearing from the community and how that should be reflected in the proposed concept design. And so after several months of work, we are here now, and Dave is going to be sharing in a few minutes the draft plan for feedback. Nothing is set in stone. We really want to take this opportunity to make sure that we're on the right track here. That's why we're sharing the plan today, and we will continue over the next few weeks. But first, I'm going to hand it over to Sarah Nesbitt, who's been a member of the steering committee, and ask that she share a little bit about her role in this process and kind of the conversations that have been happening at the steering committee level. So Sarah, if you want to take it away.
Thanks so much, Anna. Thank you all for being here tonight. As Anna said, my name is Sarah Nesbitt. I live very close to Gridley Park. I'm on West 7th between Liberty and Plum. I'm a representative of Erie Episcopal, which is a collaboration between the Cathedral of St. Paul on West 6th Street and St. Mark's Episcopal Church on Old French Road. As Anna said, we did help support the funding for this project because we recognize how important Gridley Park is to our community. And that's something that the steering committee really focused on as well. It was made up of people from across the neighborhood, people from schools, people with a vested interest in sweat equity who have worked in the park for years, people who live on or near the park, and other community members. As we went through this process, we focused on a number of different priorities that we have for the park, because just like the Our West Bayfront serves everyone, a wide variety of people, that's who is using the park and who wants to use the park. So some of the focus areas that we wanted to ensure that we kept as important in the park were its sense of history, its proximity to the school, it's the fact that it's the flagship park in the middle of the neighborhood and people of all ages use it, and the fact that we're 6 blocks from the bay. So as we talked through all of that, those were our main priority points. You'll see some parts of it that are really upholding that history. You know, this is one of the first things, as Anna said, that was plotted out in the city. And that history is important to me too, because my father served on the USS Gridley during the Vietnam War. But we also wanted to make sure that it wouldn't simply stay as it was. So you'll see some new pieces that we're hoping to bring in, pieces that will meet the needs of the youngest residents, to the teenagers, to people who might be a little bit older and need a few extra benches so that they can have the best possible experience. So we've taken feedback from those on the committee. We've taken the feedback that you gave us. And I'm very pleased to say that we love everything that Dave and his team have put together. And we're hoping that you love a lot of it too. And we're also hoping that if there's something you don't love, you let us know why. And if there's something you don't love, you take a moment and put yourself in the position of others in the neighborhood. There might be things that you don't love, but when you think about it, you'll know people who will. So without further ado, Dave Marino from Doll Camper Landscaping.
Well, thanks, Sarah. Like Sarah's mentioned, the 3 goals and intent of the design were to improve, first, the safety, second, to create spaces and gathering places to play, and thirdly, to maintain the historical character and beauty of the park. So through the site survey and the site analysis, we found that the #1 improvement needed in the park was safety. There were clear vehicular and pedestrian conflicts around the entire park at every intersection and at the crossings. Vehicles are dominant to the pedestrian, and it was quite difficult to cross the street during certain times of the day, and quite frankly, it was somewhat dangerous. So in order to reduce the vehicular and pedestrian conflicts, we're proposing to slow the traffic down in 2 ways to provide a safer pedestrian experience in the park. The first way is to create bulb outs at intersections, which reduces the drivable space to a single lane of travel. This slows traffic down and also shortens the crosswalk distances that a pedestrian needs to get across the street. Narrowing the overall street visually also slows down the traffic. We're also proposing high visibility markings and signage at all the crosswalks, which will provide a safer, more comfortable feeling when crossing into the park. Along Liberty Street, we're proposing bulb outs there also, along with a strong center crossing of 2 crosswalks instead of just 1. These will provide a narrow drive lane again to slow the traffic and provide a safer crossing and allow the monument to be viewed a little bit more. There are also 2 new locations for handicap accessible parking on either end for access to the park walkways and the interior. We also noticed that at night, the park was really dark, with only 2 lights located in the center of the east and west sides. So new pedestrian style lighting is proposed along the east and west walkway, the center walkway, to improve the visibility at night, and these would have a minimal glare and mainly casted light down. Additional period style lighting along the perimeter of North and South Park Row are also recommended, and some of those styles of lighting are shown here on the image. And they stay in style with some of the new lighting that's along 6th and 8th Streets in Erie. Other safety improvements in the park are to remove dead and dying trees and remove walkways that lead to unmarked mid-block street crossings. A total of 26 trees are planned to be removed, and the north-south mid-walkways, except for the one next to the playground, are also planned to be removed. The other walkway to be removed is the one that angles across from the center of the west side of the park to the northwest corner, and that's being removed to open up that space to allow for a nice green space for open play. Yep, that's on the lower side, exactly. And then up in the upper left corner, you can see the new green space. Yep, right there. The second goal in the design was to create gathering and play spaces in the park. Keeping with the historical layout of the park, the two central areas provided great opportunities for these gatherings. On the west side, a proposed performance space with a seasonal sail covering allows for medium-sized gatherings on the concrete center, or if you opened up to the larger green space for larger gatherings. The existing center plantings are planned to be relocated and reused in the plan. The center concrete is planned to have a nautical compass or compass rose or some type of nautical image. On the east side, the center gathering space is formed with elevated stone seating on the north and south sides to allow for a small group gathering or just a few people or even teenagers to hang out and enjoy the natural feel of the park. The existing center plantings there are also planned to be transplanted and used around the new gathering space. The existing playground spaces are to be improved with the addition of a nature play space and some new upgrades to the swings for toddlers and infants. A future sensory garden is also planned in that space to take the place of the existing structured equipment once its life expectancy is up. Also, a new outdoor classroom is proposed in the same area to stay with the use of the park. And that will also open up to that center space for larger gatherings in the for the outdoor classroom. The third goal of the design was to maintain the historical character and natural beauty of the park. This was achieved in several ways. First, by repurposing the center spaces and not dramatically changing the overall layout or sightlines of the park. The strong central focus to the Gridley Monument with a clear sightline is maintained with all the new development, and it is being reinforced with those improvements. Secondly, new tree plantings are planned to line the walkways and streets, reinforcing the original park design and layout. These trees are proposed to be native natural plantings and will be planted as older trees are removed. Thirdly, the gateway entrances on the west and east ends of the park. We have proposed new walkways encompassing a garden space and opportunities for art, sculpture, and maritime memorabilia. This provides a specific location for art so that it is not placed throughout the park, taking away from the original design and natural feel of the space. Lastly, the proposed natural materials for the improvements from the nature play space to the stone seating are all intentional and designed to maintain that natural beauty of the park. That covers just a brief description of all the main improvements. Of course, we placed benches in other locations in the park, and there's a lot of other smaller details that are much harder to explain and describe here in this. But we wanted to get your feedback for this and to hear about what you think. So with that, I'll throw it back to Anna.
Thanks so much, Dave. I feel a little bit like a flight attendant or something. I don't know if folks could see where I was trying to show people where Dave was talking about, but it is a lot to absorb. We do want to take a few minutes to get some initial thoughts, feedback, and questions. I also want to just mention that the city of Erie has been a great partner through this process. The Department of Public Works, they have seen and provided feedback along the way and are supportive of this plan as it stands right now. But I think we can open it up right now and see if there are any questions or initial thoughts. We really just want to know, what do folks like in what they've seen? What might you want to change? And then what should happen first? If there's anything that really stands out. And I think I see Deb. There is a way for folks to sort of raise their hand, and I'm going to ask Marissa to help me with this too, because I can't necessarily see everybody, but I did see Deb raising her hand, I think. So go ahead, Deb.
I love the stone seating, especially when the Philharmonic will come like once every summer. That'll be a cool place to sit and listen to them.
Yes, it will. Thank you. And we're going to look forward to that warm weather, those warm weather concerts. Although today was pretty great too.
I'll mute myself again.
Anne has a question in the comments. She said, I appreciate the use of native trees. Will there also be native plants in the garden areas?
That's a great question. I would say that none of this, we've really drilled down super into the details yet of specific plantings. But I think that there's certainly an interest in the community and at the city level, and just knowing, Dave and his work, that we would want to focus on native species. One of the things that the city's arborist has specifically pointed out is the need for a variety of species. I'm not an arborist, but I understand that would help with the overall health of our tree cover. But yeah, that's something that those kinds of specifics we can work on as the plans get further developed. Any other questions or comments? Anything we want to back up and look more closely at right now? I don't want to move on too fast. Was there another question or comment in the chat?
Can you hear me, Anna?
Oh, yep. Hi, Tom.
All I noticed is the north to south walkway in the center is gone. There's a good reason for that, I suppose. Yeah.
So the thinking there is that these walkways basically go into people's driveways. When you're out in the park and you're observing where people are actually walking, they tend to walk straight through, like along 6th, just sort of as a connection for 6th Street, or they walk along the diagonals. But there isn't a real need for anybody to walk north-south in the middle of the park unless they're visiting whoever lives right here. Or
yeah,
right here.
No, that's great. That's great. I just noticed they were gone.
Yeah, I know it is. I mean, that is a change. The other benefit is that it does open up these spaces for a little bit more flexible, space to play, put a picnic blanket out, have it, have a game of tag or whatever.
Thank you. Is that leaving a baseball field up in that corner there, there.
Yeah, so right now it's sort of a dirt patch because kids play there, but it's not a formal play space. This would provide a really hardy grass field so that it could stand up better to the games that kids tend to play in that area. And because the walkway would be removed, that one diagonal would be removed, it would actually give them the space to do that. When we've done sessions with students from Strong Vincent Middle School, and one of the things that kids in that middle school range really were interested in seeing is a football field in Gridley Park. Unfortunately, creating like a full-scale football field kind of conflicts with the goal of maintaining the historical design of the park. But we think this is a good compromise because it does give that space to play without compromising the historic nature of the park too much.
Well, that's great. The kids do use that all the time.
Yeah.
So it's great to have it.
Anna, Heather has a question in the chat. She said, it looks fantastic. I like the additions and that the basic functions were all used too are also preserved. A question about bike racks and if they are a part of the plan.
That is a great question. And that is one of those details that I don't think we've necessarily, or maybe Dave has actually drawn them yet on the plan, but things like bike racks, water fountains, additional electrical outlets, community information bulletin boards. Dave, am I forgetting anything along those lines that we would certainly want to incorporate into final
I think
plan.
that's, yeah, a lot of the site furnishings weren't specifically located yet. But they are something that can be added in fairly simple, depending on the use and how it gets developed. So yeah, they're not specifically on the plan, but thought about and have locations for them.
Is there anything, so one of the things that we're aware of is that the city has an allocation of funding that they're going to be releasing in the coming months, specifically for parks and public spaces. So folks might have participated in some of their surveys on this effort. So we want to have this plan ready so that if there is a decision to make some investments in Gridley Park, we can kind of help them figure out where and how best to use that funding. So one of the things we're trying to figure out is what in this plan comes first, because there's a lot in here and it adds up. So some decisions would probably need to be made about what's a priority for the short term and what maybe do we wait a little bit on. If anybody wants to jump in there and say, let us know your preference on what's most important that we get done. We'd love to hear that. Folks are quiet tonight. Don't be shy.
Anne has put a message in the chat. I think the traffic slowing crossing should be first.
Thank you, Anne.
Yep.
And I will just mention on the Facebook Live comments, Lee and Winnie said, looks cool, love lighting, love to keep as many trees as possible. Don't know if we love parking on Liberty, however.
Dave, do you want to speak to the parking on Liberty at all?
There's already parking there, so I'm not sure exactly what they mean. The new handicap parking, or just that we've defined those parking spaces on there would be, I guess, the question. Because right now you can park on the perimeter of Liberty up and down. So we're, the idea of having designated lines there is going to help to slow some of that traffic, which is ideal to have a more comfortable center crosswalk in the middle of that street.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, feedback right now?
Yeah, I just this is Lee checking out on 2nd Street. I think it looks really awesome. Like, I think it looks really, really good. And we're up there all the time. I think the lighting is important, as the comment, and I think I would definitely defer to the architects to I think getting the shape of what we need with the concrete and all that would probably be first, but I would defer to the architect for sure, the order of operations.
You've got your.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Great.
I think Dave does have some suggestions on how we should prioritize things. So now that's great. So what we're gonna I think wrap this up, but I want to put this out here. Now, there are other ways to provide input. This plan is now on our website at ourwestbayfront.org/Gridley. And there is a little survey button there where you can provide any additional comments or feedback or questions that you want to get out there. If anybody wants to take a closer look at the plan, we would love to have you down to our office on Saturday, the 18th, this coming Saturday, for our open house. Marissa's going to talk later about the open houses taking place in the neighborhood. But you can take a look at the plan and at some of these example images that we shared, and have a great, have a great chance to talk it over and provide your thoughts there. So I just had to include this photo of this adorable basset hound with its person taking a survey. I thought that was such a cute dog. And we want to see more dogs at Gridley. Okay, well, thanks everybody for your great feedback. Thank you, Sarah and Dave, for presenting. We're going to move on now to a couple other, I'm just going to touch on a couple other projects that we are working on simultaneously. One is an effort along Liberty Street, so it ties in nicely with the work at Gridley Park. We have received a grant from the Erie County Gaming Revenue Authority called the Renaissance Block Grant. This was awarded last year, and it's substantial funding to help us assist property owners up and down Liberty Street with home repairs. We're tying that together with some other grants to be able to make sidewalk repairs, hopefully do some street tree planting, maybe add some high visibility crosswalks, and add additional porch lights at any properties that might be missing exterior lighting, just to make that whole area a little bit more, improve the visibility up and down Liberty Street, all the way from 2nd Street all the way down to 11th Street. So that's ongoing. If you live on Liberty Street, or you know somebody who does and they are not connected with us, we would really appreciate you helping make that connection, because we're trying to get the word out about these exciting opportunities. Secondly, we've also been working on a project for West 8th Street. The area pretty much from Cherry to Myrtle Street, which happens to be where our office and building is located. The goals here for 8th Street are generally to make this area a little bit more of a neighborhood commercial district. So repopulating the buildings that have been at one point or another in their lifetime a commercial business. You can see, we've got a vacant building here, although today they were actually replacing the windows in this building. So that's exciting to see some progress there. But we'd really love to see a business move into that building, as well as some of the others up and down 8th Street. So to that end, we've done a streetscape plan that includes sidewalk repairs, additional lighting for pedestrians, street trees, crosswalks, and eventually we'd also like to do some planters and signage and traffic improvements, really to make this area a little bit more appealing to businesses and more attractive for people to just, walk up and down the street and visit those businesses. And then thirdly, and kind of in connection with that, we've been working on a community signage plan. So, if you go into many neighborhoods or many communities, there's often a welcome sign that lets you know, what community you're in. It stands out. It makes the place sort of signals the personality of the community and highlights it as a special place. So currently, we don't really have any of that type of signage here in the West Bayfront. But we do want to kind of bring that in. These are some examples from other places of, this is like a metal banner. These are signs in Cleveland that kind of signal the Ohio City neighborhood over there. So just some examples there. We had the opportunity to work with students from Edinburgh University, Penn West, the Penn West campus, graphic design students who worked very closely with a great committee of residents here in the West Bayfront to develop some draft designs for what would eventually be banners that could go on light poles throughout the neighborhoods. So this is the draft that they came up with after many iterations and lots of conversation about what the community wanted to sort of include, what signals and sort of aspects of life in the West Bayfront needed to be communicated. So the idea that it's a residential community, we're close to the water, it's a friendly community, that kind of all got wrapped up into this design. So we're working on refining this a little bit now, and hopefully soon we'll be placing these at some key community assets like Strong Vincent Middle School, the Erie Martin Luther King Center, Gridley Park could be on that list. Just to kind of add some kind of community identification. And then I'm going to hand it over to Marissa, who's been working very hard on the issue of street trees throughout the West Bayfront.
Yeah. So obviously when we think about walking through our streets, some of our streets have really big old trees that provide a lot of shade and tree canopy. There are other blocks that maybe not have as many trees, or there may be a block that's kind of in between that has a few trees scattered here and there. So in the last, in fall of 2022, we worked with Tree Pennsylvania, which is a nonprofit that partners with the state of Pennsylvania to provide free street trees to residents in the West Bayfront. So what it looked like last year is residents were able to sign up and say, hey, I'm interested in getting a street tree. We would then work with Lake Erie Arboretum at Frontier Park and National Fuel to confirm that there was a proper amount of easement between the sidewalk and the street up to the city's standards, to make sure that if LEAF volunteers started digging, there wasn't a gas line to worry about. And we also worked with the residents to ensure that A, the trees were native, B, that they met the City of Erie's standards for tree species choices, which are all native as well, and C, all fit under utility lines if the property had utility lines. So we were able to plant 19 street trees last fall. We had 3 variations of a crabapple tree, which can all fit under power lines. Like I said, residents could choose their version of the street tree of their variation. And it was really successful. We had a lot of interest in it. So we've decided to go ahead with the spring with this same program. So we have 20 more trees available. We are going to have to go with crabapple again, just because of the availability of the nursery that that Tree Pennsylvania works with. We're going to go with that again, but I do hear people that they want non-fruit or flowering trees. So we've opened up that free street tree application to be a rolling application with an option to let us know that you would like a non-fruit or non-flower bearing tree, as more opportunities become available for different native species that, like I said, fit within the City of Erie standards. We'll be able to continue to provide residents with street trees. We provide them with proper care instructions. We connect them with a Penn State forester who is willing to walk them through any issues that might arise. And we make sure that they're planted, staked, and all good to go. So in addition to that, and to kind of help make that most impact, we're going to be working with Gannon students and some volunteers to map existing street trees. So we will be able to, hopefully soon, look at a literal map of and know which tree has street trees and which one doesn't. And then we can begin continued outreach to those property owners who might not have one and see if they would be interested in joining that program as well. If you're interested in learning more about this program and filling out the preliminary application and starting that conversation, you can go to ourwestbayfront.org/tree. You can contact me. My phone number will be on the next slide to talk about it further and sign up. Cool. Kind of in tandem with that, we've been working with the City of Erie. So the City of Erie has a part of one of the mayor's initiatives is to provide free Wi-Fi to city residents, or to have a citywide Wi-Fi network that is free. So we are looking for houses that are interested in having VNet come out and install a Wi-Fi router. VNet would install this router for free. There would be no installation fees, no fee for the product itself. The only fees or any costs that might be incurred would be minimal electric costs that would be, from actually running the Wi-Fi router. There is certain areas that are eligible, so it's important to reach out to us to make sure that you are in that eligibility area, and then we can talk further about that. Again, you can email me, marissa@ourwestbayfront.org, or my phone number is there, and we can talk about that as well. So Wi-Fi and trees, 2 exciting things coming up.
And we can, if there's any questions on either of those, please jump in right now with them. I want to make sure that with the Wi-Fi initiative, the goal of that initiative for the city is not so much home internet connections. It's sort of a public free network. But if you have one of those routers on your house, chances are that when you're in the home, you'd probably be able to access that free Wi-Fi. So just to kind of put that out there. So any questions on trees or Wi-Fi for Marissa?
Cool.
Okay, great. Thanks, Marissa.
Yeah.
Okay, and then next up, we're going to have Tyler Titus, who is our relatively new neighborhood outreach coordinator. Tyler joined us back in October, thanks to funding from the city ARP grant program. And Tyler's been meeting out in the community, meeting one-on-one with many residents, making sure that resources, particularly around housing repairs, are available to people. So Tyler, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thank you. So I'm excited to talk about this part because there is a lot of money right now that is coming through our city, and we are trying to get as much of that into our West Bayfront communities and neighborhoods as possible so that we can help our residents, we can help future business owners, and we can attract new neighbors to come in and join our West Bayfront. So really what the focus is right now is we're gonna touch base on some of the other slides that we've kind of gone over, but the big focus is the ARP, or the American Relief funding, that's kind of coming through our city through the Erie City Redevelopment Authority, or RACE. So they have this application that can seem really overwhelming when you get it and you print it off and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of steps that kind of got to go through. And so that's really the role that I've been doing is stepping in and helping people make their way through this application. And then when we get that application, looking at it and say, hey, I think you might also qualify for, lead remediation because your house was built, prior to this time, and you've got younger children who are in the home. And so maybe we can also help get access to new windows. Or, hey, you also live on Liberty Street, and I know that our West Bayfront, we have this grant money to kind of come in. So where RACE is focusing more on, a good rule of thumb is warm, safe, and dry, right? Where they're focusing on there, that we can help maybe a little bit with around the facade. And in reverse, when we were talking about that Liberty Street, there's an element of that block application that has it's a match program. And so when we're talking about matching, we mean that we will put in so much and the owner will put in so much. But if you also qualify for lead or the ARP funding or the Healthy Homes funding through RACE, we can use that to offset the match. And so it's really important to give us a call, to shoot me an email, to shoot me a text, and I can come out and I can meet with you. We'll go over, just what's kind of going on. I'll bring Dan along with me. Dan is our asset manager, and he'll take a quick look around the house and be able to identify right off the bat, what are some of the big needs? And we'll see if we can't match the funding to funding sources to kind of take care of that match piece on your end. And again, those big programs that are kind of going through this is that Healthy Homes through the city, but then Erie County Redevelopment has a weatherization program where they can help seal up some of the drafts that are coming through, maybe through some old windows, maybe there's some, gaps or cracks. So we'd love to be able to help address that. And then again, back to that Liberty Renaissance Block Grant. So that is focused on that one area. And we'd love to be able to get some of the sidewalk, the facade, the outside done so that not only does it look great to drive through, but then to be able to help people apply for the redevelopment authority. And pieces that I didn't touch on, and I should have hit on this first, is you don't just
leave the meeting and come back.
Oops, sorry.
Leave the meeting.
Oh, nope. I guess that's not for me. That's somebody else. But there are a couple elements. You don't just have to be a homeowner or residing in the home. So if you are the person, maybe you are a landlord, you can still apply for this, and you might be held accountable for certain parts of it. But if you are renting to somebody like a family member, and your tenants qualify, you can still apply for the RACE grant, so the Healthy Homes grant. So it's really important to reach out to us. Let us walk you through to see where we can plug you into some of these sources. And then Anna, I should have known more on this one, and I don't want to misspeak. So I'd like to pass the mic back to talk a little bit more about the group work part of it. So I don't want to do wrong dates.
I got you covered. Don't worry, Tyler. Thank you. That was a great overview of those programs. The last one is the group work camp. So for several years now, there is a program that's been coming into Erie called the group work camp. It's a group of 400 youth that are supervised by volunteers. They're here for a week, and they fan out all over Erie County doing a variety of home repair projects for people who need the help. So anything from painting inside or outside, porch repair, they build wheelchair ramps. I wouldn't necessarily, and I don't think they do more major items like roof replacement or window replacement, but they can really do a lot around the house. There's a wonderful woman named Joanne Jeska who lives locally, who coordinates this on on our end. She will come out and meet with all of the homeowners, and she's doing that work now to get people lined up and in the program, and kind of make sure that it's a good home for the volunteers to work on. There is, again, no cost for that program for the property owner, and if anybody has any interest in participating or knows a neighbor that might benefit from the help, get them in touch with us, with Tyler, and we will get them in that pipeline. Any questions for Tyler or for me about any of those programs before we move on? Okay, great. Then moving right along, I'm going to pause here and do a shout out. None of this work happens without the support of our sponsors and partners. So just a shout out and a huge thank you to our major supporters and partners for making all of these projects and programs possible. I would also thank the number of businesses that support the events that Marissa's going to talk about in a minute that are not included on this slide, as well as our incredible team of volunteers who do so much in the community to make this work happening. And the ranks of volunteers are growing. Marissa's gonna join all of you into those ranks in a minute, but just wanted to give a shout out to our supporters. And I am going to hand it back to Marissa to talk about upcoming events.
Yeah, so I like today's weather because I feel like it gave me a taste of the really exciting events that we have coming up. So we have, of course, a lot of things. The most pressing or the soonest things coming up, we're super, super excited to have Benevolent Beers back. This is where we partner with Erie Ale Works, our friends on 12th Street, and we have a fundraiser. So on Thursday, March 23rd, from 5 to 8 p.m. at Erie Ale Works, 10% of all sales completed during that window goes towards our West Bayfront. We are going to bring back our raffle basket tables. We're also going to have some local vendors there too to offer some of their goods and just continue to spread the neighborly love. We really like this event a lot, and we're excited to have it back. That event information is on Facebook. It's also on our website as well. So home repair workshop with DIY Dan. Tyler mentioned Dan Pirtle in our office, who is just based on his personality, he's an expert in all things home repair, it seems like to me. So Saturday, March 25th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the MLK Center Gymnasium, we'll be doing a DIY Dan home repair workshop where he'll be showing ways to do basic home repairs. We're also hoping to be able to provide you with some kits to do these repairs yourself at home. So we do ask for registration. You can complete that registration at ourwestbayfront.org/events, where you fill out your information, or you can call that number there and we can get that done for you. And then we have the spring cleanup coming up on April 22nd from 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. across the West Bayfront. We'll be having different ways that we'll be cleaning up the neighborhoods. That will be kind of contingent upon neighborhood watch and neighborhood association kind of needs. So keep an eye out on our social media and our website and our other email lists, et cetera, to get a better idea of where different groups are meeting. So if you are interested in joining them, you have that information. So that's just a few of our events coming up. Of course, we have a full events calendar that as we move through the year, we'll be sharing with you and we're super excited about. So I think next is a video with DIY Dan to kind of give you a sense of what to expect and to invite you to it. So.
Hi, I'm Dan Pirtle with our West Bayfront and the Bayfront Eastside Task Force. I'd like you to join me Saturday, March 25th at the Martin Luther King Jr. Center located at 312 Chestnut for a home repair workshop that we'll be hosting. You can come and learn some tips and tricks about some repairs that you may or may not know how to do yourself already and get to know some of the people in your neighborhood. So in the meantime, please keep an eye out for our website and social media for some videos of some tutorials that we've done and some repairs we've done getting ready for this event. Thanks, and hope to see you there.
We will also be posting some videos of Dan completing some basic home repairs too. So if you're not able to make the home repair workshop, we don't want to keep Dan's knowledge from everyone. So we're going to post some videos too. And then to get involved, like Anna said, we couldn't do this without our incredible volunteers. And we are able to kind of offer our volunteer opportunities for 2023. This includes helping with our events. So that could be something like set up and tear down. It could also be helping with activities during events. It can also be just helping us plan the events and execute them. We could always use help there. We also have a number of really exciting special projects. So like I mentioned, we have that street tree assessment. We'll be looking for volunteers when the time comes to plant those trees. We'll always be looking for litter cleanups and stuff like that. So to get the full list of opportunities and to sign up, you can visit rwestbayfront.org/volunteer or call that number below, and we can kind of talk it through with you and see what is a best fit and most passionate for you. And we're excited to have you be a part of the exciting things happening in the West Bayfront in 2023.
And one of the first things, I think we left it off the slides. I'm going to that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Right? So you're probably all here because you're aware that this week is Love Your Neighbor Neighbor Days in our West Bayfront. Hopefully folks have received the emails or seen the social media about this. But it's basically a week of activities and events where we appreciate our neighbors. And one of the things that will be happening later this week on Saturday, there'll be open houses at a number of locations throughout the West Bayfront. So at Kingsley United Methodist Church from 2 to 4 p.m., there's going to be a craft workshop. It's free, hot chocolate and snacks for the kids. Also, they're going to be receiving coat donations for people. From 12 to 3 p.m., the MLK Junior Center will be doing a community indoor picnic. Marissa, while I'm doing this, maybe you can put the link in the chat so people can
Yeah, absolutely.
details. So they're going to have a great indoor picnic throughout that window, 12 to 3 p.m. As I mentioned before, we're going to have an open house here at our office, 404 West 8th Street from 12 to 2 p.m. You'll be able to see those Gridley Park plans up close and see some other things that we're working on. And then right next door to us, the Veterans Leadership Program will also be opening their doors to folks from that 12 o'clock to 2 p.m. window. So we really hope that people will come out and, you can go to more than one of these events. They're all free. They're all open to everybody. You can just pop in and say hello. And we would love to see you on Saturday. Before we wrap up, because I think we are at the end, I think we mentioned the greenhouse. So Candace, I'm going to ask to put you on the spot a little bit and see if you could, as wearing your hat as the coordinator of the West Bayfront Neighborhood Watch Group, share anything that you would like to about the greenhouse project. You are muted.
Certainly. Thank you. Gannon is working with a collaborative project with the Regional Science Corps Consortium with native propagation greenhouse is what they're hoping to put in the 300 block of Myrtle Street. There's several lots there that belong to Gannon that something needs to happen with, and this is what they're hoping to do. And their goal is to support the environment and the community. You may have heard about on the news about the Project Neptune and their work with the water and the bay and cleaning the bay and trying to remove all of the plastic and debris from the bay. And part of that relates to Presque Isle and the park. And excuse me. And the greenhouse would be a source for them to produce native plants to fill in the wetlands and dune restoration at Presque Isle State Park. Also to grow vegetable plants for the Gannon Goodwill Gardens. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And pollinator plants. And they have come to the neighborhood to talk about how does this fit in with our neighborhood. There's lots of questions and they don't have all the answers at this point. They need to continue with their site work, and as they do so, the intention is to set up focus groups and ask you neighbors to come and sit down and talk about what, first of all, to learn out what they want to do and what their goals are, and also how does this fit into our community and what benefit is there for our community and the people who live here. The contact person is Walter Ayawanko at Gannon University. If anybody needs his number, I don't have it on the card, I have his email, but just give me a call or reach out to me and I'll get the number for you. If anybody has any questions now that are easy questions that I can answer, none of the questions they don't know the answers to.
And we can also open it up to any other questions or comments or anything that anybody wants to share out before we wrap things up here.
If I could, one thing I would like to say for the people who are present, I see we have some board members that I do want to recognize that they're on our West Bayfront board members who are present on the call. So if you would do a little roll call, maybe starting with Jason. And say hi and introduce yourself briefly.
Hi, Candace. I heard you call my name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to recognize the board members. If you could just say hi and identify yourself.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. My name is Jason. I'm a board member. I live on West 9th Street.
Thank you. Is Katrina still on?
I am. Thanks, Candace. Hi, everyone. My name is Katrina Vincent, and I'm a commercial lender at Market Savings Bank, and I'm excited. I'm fairly new to the board, so I'm still kind of in the learning phase to some degree. I moved to the area about 20 years ago, and the first place that I rented was actually located at Cascade and 3rd Street. So I'm familiar with the area, also with the bank headquarters being right there on Peach and 9th. What's going on in this community. I'm also a Gannon grad student that from about also 15 years ago. So know the area well, and just appreciate all the work that the board and the team has really put into making this such a wonderful neighborhood. And I look forward to getting to meet more of you in person. So thank you for your participation tonight.
Thank you both. Okay, the one thing I do want to ask people, there's a lot of people who are either not familiar with using Facebook or social media. I love it that Deb, you have somebody there with you and enjoying this meeting together. And can we all, as part of, especially as part of Love Our Neighbor Week, reach out and share information with our neighbors so that they know also what's going on. And we have another board member, and if Erica could introduce herself.
I was still trying to get out of that.
All right. No.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erica Jenkins. I'm a board member at OWB Bayfront, going on what now, 6 years? Is it 6? Yes, oh my God.
Maybe.
Oh, maybe, yeah, I think more. I moved here about 10 years ago to Erie, and I actually moved into our West Bayfront area as well, on 4th and Cranberry. So I'm familiar with the area. I used to walk the area and loved walking around the parks, and love that they put in the safer route down to the Bayfront from 3rd, 4th, 2nd, all those streets. So thank you for attending tonight, and we appreciate all your interest and dedication to our West Bayfront.
Thank you. Okay, I'm finished. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah. So yeah, feel free if there's any questions about anything we covered or anything that we didn't cover that you want to hear more about, now is the time. Or after the meeting, our contact information is up here. on the screen here. Was that somebody?
And thank you, Sarah, for putting Dr. Iolenko's phone number on the chat.
So we do thank you again to everybody for participating and for showing up this evening virtually. We would love to see you in person on Saturday at one of the open houses. So please come out for those. And then we look forward to seeing you at hopefully many of the events that are coming up this spring and beyond. And I think with that, we'll wrap things up and thank everybody again and have a great night.